Good afternoon, everyone. This is the relearning for converting basic metric units. So the first thing we need to do is talk about our base units. Our three base units we're talking about are grams, which we use for mass, liters, which we use for volume, and meters, which we use for distance and length. Now what we're talking about is converting, and what you're doing when you're converting is changing the language. For example, if I'm measuring how far I go on a run, I don't want to measure it in meters. I'm going to use kilometers. So if I have a measurement that's in meters, to make it make more sense, I need to convert it. And so we use what are called conversion factors. Now if you look here in the first column, we've got 1 kilometer equals 1,000 meters. So that means from where I'm sitting here at school to probably about to Miller Park is probably about a kilometer. It's 1,000 meters. If I took 1,000 meter sticks and laid them end to end, it would go from me here at school to Miller Park. 100 centimeters equals 1 meter. We all saw this on our meter sticks. There's 1,000 millimeters in 1 meter. So there's all those tiny little lines on the meter stick are millimeters. And there's 10 millimeters in every 1 centimeter. Now, I gave you the conversion factors in meters, but you can use the same, if you look at the column, we've got the same thing in grams and then the same thing in liters. The relationship has to do with the K and the base unit, not with which base unit we're talking about. So let's do some practice, but before we do that, let's look at some steps. So the first thing we do when we're looking at the problem is we need to figure out which conversion factor are we going to use. Second, you're going to set it up. Third, you want to cancel out the units, make sure you're ending up with the correct unit at the end. Then you're going to divide or multiply by 10, 100, or 1,000. And when you do this, so a lot of people trying to do long division or longhand multiplication. All you're doing when you divide or multiply by tens, hundreds, or thousands, if you're going to move that decimal to the left, to the right, depending on how many zeros you are. All right, so let's scooch on over to the JotCam and do some practice. So I'm going to require you to as well use scratch paper as well as your problems. So you're going to see these problems on your worksheet, but I'd like you to write your work on a separate piece of lined paper, which you will turn in to me. This will help me check and see if you are doing something incorrectly, what are you doing? And so when I was looking at people's tests, it was really helpful for me to be able to see what you had done. So I'm just going to pause right here. So we're going to set it up. So the first thing we need to do is you're going to write down the first thing you're converting from. So my first question is 52.92 meters, and we're going to go 2 centimeters. So we need to pick the correct conversion factor. So let's flip here. We're going to go meters to centimeters. Well, I see that 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. And I want to put my 1 meter on the bottom because I'm going to cancel it out in just a second. So this next step is to set it up, which I've done. Third step is to cancel out my units. And then the last step is to go ahead and divide by 1, which is leaving it, and multiply by 100. And now, when I multiply by 100, I'm going to end up with a large number, which reminds me I have to move the decimal to the right. So the answer to the first one is 5,292 centimeters. Let's look at the next one. 53,100 centimeters. Now, one thing some people did was they saw the comma and thought it was a decimal. Ladies and gentlemen, be very careful when you're looking at the problems. Commas are not decimals. Decimals are not commas. Commas mean nothing. All right. So we're actually going to use the same conversion unit as factor as the last one. So I'm going to just look at it, but wait, I need to put centimeters on the bottom this time because I need to cancel it out. So I'm going to put 100 centimeters down here and 1 meter up there. So I'm canceling out my units. I'm going to end up with meters as my unit. And I'm going to divide by 100. Now if I take $53,000 and divide it between 100 people, I'm going to end up with a small number. So I need to move my decimal to the left 2 spots, 1 for each 0. So the answer is 531 meters. You could put in decimal 00, but you don't have to. It's the same number either way. Let's skip to number 13 on my sheet, which is 17.49 liters to milliliters. Now remember what I said, you can use the same conversion factor, you just got to fix that base unit. So I'm going milliliters to liters, or liters to milliliters. So I'm going to put 1 liter on the bottom because again I want to cancel it out, and 1,000 milliliters on the top. I cancel out my units. I've got it all set up. Cancel out my units, multiply by 1,000. 1, 2, 3, 17,490 milliliters will be my answer. Number, let's do number 6. Let's do number 17. Excuse me. 17 is 91.3 kilograms, and we're going to convert it to milligrams. Okay, this is a double stepper. So we don't have, if we look at our conversion factors, we do not have a conversion factor that brings us from kilograms to milligrams. But we do have a conversion factor that goes from kilograms to grams, and we have another one that goes from grams to milligrams. So that's what we're going to use. So I'm going to go 1 kilogram on the bottom. Again, I need to cancel it out. 1,000 grams on the top. Cancel out my units. Multiply by 1,000, which means I move 1, 2, 3 to the right to make a big number. Now I've got it in grams. Remember, this is a comma and not a decimal. That comma means nothing. I can write it with or without it, but I cannot make that a decimal. Okay, now I'm going to use my other conversion factor, 1 gram, 1,000 milligrams. Right, that's what we're going to. Yep. And that equals, we're going to move our decimal from here. The decimal, when it's not written, is always at the end. 91,300,000 milligrams. All right, couple reminders. Commas have no mathematical value. Decimals are at the end of the number if they are not written anywhere else. for example, 92, let's say 920, its decimal is after the 0 if it's not written. And lastly, fill empty spaces with zeros. So again, if we look at something like 23.2 grams goes into 1 gram. If we're going into centigrams, we're going to move the decimal 2 spots to the right. We have 1 extra spot, so we fill it in with a 0. We can skip the comma. For those of you who are feeling good, you can stop. If you need some more help, I'm going to go through a couple more right now. Please finish the worksheet either way. I'm going to go back and do some more standard ones. $15,140 milliliters. So the first thing I need to do is pick my conversion factor. I need to pick 1,000 milliliters in 1 liter. And I'm going to do cross off my stuff. I'm going to end up with liters over here. And I'm dividing by 1,000. There's no decimal, so it's at the end. 1, 2, 3 to the left, excuse me. So I end up with 15.14. I can write or I can skip the 0 at the end. 56,850 milligrams to grams. 56,850 milligrams times 1 gram divided by 1,000 milligrams. Cancel out my units. Divide by 1,000. 1, 2, 3. Put my decimal there. 56.85 grams. All right, I'll do one more doubler. I'm going to do number 18. 436, 800 milligrams to kilograms. On this one, you're going to start with 436,800 mg times 1,000 milligrams into 1 gram. And that gives us 436.8 grams times 1,000 grams in 1 kilogram. Cross off my units. 0.4368 kilograms will be my answer. All right. Please let me know if you're still having a hard time with this. We'll figure it out. We'll get some practice. If you're really struggling, you can try the other video.